Raiders family, it's Bourkeys here and welcome to this week's round 3 clash against the Knights preview at GIO tomorrow night. Look, before I get into the top 10, Newcastle have built up very, very well the last couple of years, I must admit, and they're a side that's given us a lot of stress over the last 3-4 years, even going back to 2016. I think in the second or third round we had a draw or a golden point with them. In 2017 they embarrassed us up at Newcastle quite badly, and last year in the early rounds they beat us quite convincingly down at Canberra. So they're a tough side, they're a tough nut side. As I said, they've built up really, really well the last couple of years in both their backs and their forwards. So we're in for a really tough gig tomorrow night. We need to be right on our game. But look, let's get into the top 10. The first thing I want to talk about actually is the Newcastle forward pack. And just some of the hard nuts they've got on paper that are fairly ruthless and have a lot of experience compared to some of our guys. The likes of Clemmer, Gabay, Gladsby, who's a state of origin player for Queensland, Guerra, who's played origin, Mitch Barnett's a solid player, as well as Herman Saeso, who last year was probably one of the Broncos' better players off the bench. So they've become really strong, excuse me, in a really tough unit. What they'll probably try and do, and they do very effectively, I watched their game against the Panthers last week with intent, knowing we were going to play them this week. And they're not scared to basically do 5 forward rucks from their end up the field, and then a kick to the corner. So last year against the Panthers, when they were hemmed on their line, they did do 4 or 5 rucks straight off the field. 1 left, 1 right, 1 left, 1 right, 1 left, then kick. So they're not scared to play boring, grafting football to get field position, then sweat on a mistake. So we've really got to be on cue with their forward pack. And the big thing about being on cue with a forward pack that likes to roll is line speed. And a few of the people in my forums mentioned that as well last week against Melbourne. Our line speed had dropped off considerably compared to the week before against the Titans. So we've got to be right on our game tomorrow night with our line speed, because you can get up quickly against a rolling forward pack and take their yardage of them and not let them get on outside of halfway. Then their kick's not going to be the best kick on the 5th tackle. It's going to be a long bomb, or it's going to be a high bomb which we can get on the full and get some yardage back. So our line speed's critical against a forward pack of this size. A forward pack this size can also be a weakness, which I'll come to later on. But they're a hard grafting unit. They like to intimidate, as well as be very aggressive. So we just got to be on our game and get on top of their yardage game early by having great line speed and getting up in their faces quickly. So with a forward pack like that, their halves obviously have a big impact, and that's why Mitchell Pearce at number 2 for my liking. Now this guy, whilst you most love him or hate him, he's a solid halfback. What he will do is play into our line, so he'll try and run as close to the line as he can before he gives the ball away. He usually takes the ball very flat from Danny Levi at dummy half, and that's what he can do, is get in behind our markers to look for a quick gap or look for an inside ball. Go back and look at the try he set up for Mitch Barnett last week against the Panthers, where he took off very quickly, ran across field and turned Barnett inside, but he played right to the Panthers line, and that's what we've got to be careful of with Pearce. Once again, the secret with these types of players is we need line speed so he doesn't have time to think about what his options are. If we stand back and gaze at him, we're going to be in for a long night. Once again, Pearce is also a confidence play. If you can rattle him early with some mistakes out on the full, drop balls or so on, or he can't play to his game plan because we're in their face, he can drop his head very quickly. So we've really got to be on our ball with Pearce. As I said, he will play to the line every time and look for a lazy defender. Number 3 is Kalen Ponga, the other half for the Knights, a terrific player. Different to Pearce, he won't play so much at the line. He'll do a 40, most times he'll play left edge because he's got a lethal left foot step. So most time he will do a 45-degree run. What his main aim is with a 45-degree run, he's using his peripheral vision to try and look for a lazy defender who hasn't moved up. Then he'll use his step to try and get around his attacker or his defender and get him behind with his speed off the mark. So our defenders have to be pushing up on his right-hand side. So if he does step, we've got the cover coming across. If we get lazy, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Once again, we need line speed to take Ponga's to take his decision-making process away from him. The other play that Pearce and Ponga like to use a lot is on that left edge or our right edge with Bateman, BJ and Rapana. What they'll try and do, and they did it a number of times against the Panthers last week and it's their go-to play, is that what will happen is on their fourth ruck with the forwards coming up, as I said at the start, Danny Levi will pick the ball up, run to the right to take our markers away. Pearce will then switch from right to left. Our markers have gone that way, so all of a sudden we've got a main issue. So we've got Pearce, Ponga, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, and we've got Edric. So we've got to be very, very careful. And what they try and do is then bring in our centre to take Ponga, and then we've got a 2-on-1. And Pearce usually does a face ball to Fitzgibbon to give it to Edric down the sideline. So we've just got to be very careful of their pet play, and that's one of their pet plays. Usually on the fourth tackle, if it's 15 metres in, they'll run that play a lot to try and catch us out on that short side. So we've got to be right on our game if we see that unfolding. Once again, Ponga's left foot kick, we'll do a lot of grubbers close to our line. So once again, we need the likes of CNK cleaning up very shallow. We need our halves also coming across to try and block off his kick and not give him time to decide where it's going to go to. So we've really got to be watching Ponga intently, even more so close to our line. He does like that left foot step, as I said, and if we get lazy even close to our line, it's going to be a lot of trouble for us. So we've just got to take his time away for his decision-making process as well. Number 4, I've gone for Edric, only because he hasn't stopped his bad habit of coming up and pushing in and trying to do the big tackle or the big play. It worked last week against Penrith with the intercept. Doesn't work all the time. So once again, we've got to be really on our game to try and suck him in to either put a grubber kick behind and make him chase with Jordan staying wider than usual, or we've got to look for those short cutout passes where he's in no man's land and taking no one. I think Edric is a weakness for them in that defensive line, but we've got to play to that and make sure we have a really good field position to expose him and make sure we bring him up into our line as much as possible. And with those options, either a kick or a cutout pass. Once we get him sucked in, we usually should score most times because he's very slow to turn and chase back. If he gets that intercept, like he did against Panthers, we're in trouble. But I think we'll have his measure with the way that he does play against us. So that's the Newcastle situation, how I think they'll play a lot of their game. Let's come to us. I've gone for Josh Papali at number 5, our forward leader. I think the Knights will try and intimidate Papa a lot. I think they'll try and gang up and hone in, knowing if they can get on top of our forward leader, it's 90% to victory. So we really need our guys to rally around Papa big time. I think he'll handle it, but the likes of Clemmer and Glasby and those guys I mentioned earlier, even Mataldia and James Gavay, who's a loose cannon, they'll really try and expose Papa and really try and intimidate and gang up a lot. So we've got to be there in numbers to help him. Give Josh Hodgson some options out of dummy half. So if he doesn't want to hit Papali, there's someone else coming either to the left or as a second man. We've got to play smart early, and particularly with those early rucks, that we don't let them have big hits on Papa, because they will try and do that. Number 6, I've gone for John Bateman. Now moving to the right edge, I think is fantastic for us. Sad we've lost to Palmy, but we don't lose a lot with John Bateman, that's for sure. What I like about the way that he plays on that right edge is his left foot step. So when he gets the ball, he'll basically get it and then he'll skip away to that edge, which is good, because what he's doing, he's looking at BJ's centre, come and get me, come and get me. That's where his eyes are pointing. He's not worried so much about his one-on-one defender, the other edge for Newcastle, but he's trying to get the centre in Heimel Hunt to come in. As soon as that happens, that's when he's got BJ and Jordan with a 2-on-1. So I think it's a really good move to have Bateman on that edge. Strong hips, great fend, and he's ultra competitive. And that's going to be a really, really good sign for us, not only for this game, but for the rest of the year. We're having a guy like him that hates losing. So if we can give him some early ball and it's a dry track with his strength of his fend, I think will cause a lot of hassles with Newcastle. Newcastle will try and get us into a field position where we're too wide to play on that edge. They'll try and force us over to the other side of the field. So we've got to be smart and come down that way with the settler, give us 20-25 metre corridor to expose that left edge of Newcastle. But I'm looking forward to John Bateman on that right edge for sure. Number 7, I've gone for Hudson Young. Now, I don't know a lot about Hudson. He looks strong, he looks raw bone. The thing I am concerned about is not so much for him as, once again, this intimidatory issue with this Knights pack trying to get on top of him and Horsburgh when they come on. Whether Ricky runs them on together, 2 young guys, I'm not really sure. I think that may not be the best move to have 2 young guys like that on simultaneously. But I'm looking forward to Hudson Young. He looks like a really, really good edge player, middle type of player. He looks very fit and a good mover. But he's just got to, once again, hold his confidence. His first A-grade debut, he's got some fantastic players around him from our side with a lot of experience, and he's just got to play his natural game. The little 1%ers, the kick chase for marker, don't let them offload. Just those little things can help his confidence and help him grow into the game quite quickly. But once again, our experienced guys like Sia have to rally around him when they come on with him, just to keep him calm and keep him level. But looking forward to seeing how he goes. Number 8, I've gone for Havili. Now, I think we can use this guy a bit more. I don't think he had enough game time last week against the Storm. The guy's a real bull. And once again, the Newcastle side are slow movers. Havili is built really low to the ground, but moves really well for such a nuggety guy. And if he can come on when these bigger guys are tiring and we're playing a very upbeat type of game with a lot of speed, his offloads, if Havili can do that where he gets 2 or 3 into a tackle, spins and offloads back to Josh Hodgson, I think that's going to be a really big key for us to getting a victory off the back of some second and third phase play. But I just want to see Havili have a little bit more game time this week, Rick, if possible. I know the games don't pan out that way, but if he can, I think it's going to help us enormously. Occasionally as well, I'd like to see Havili get in a dummy half, move Hodso back to first receiver now and then, just add a bit of variety when he's on. Havili's great at a dummy half. He's great at a dummy half if we win that ruck and getting us over the advantage line with a quick play of the ball. As I said, he's very strong in his core, and with some of these bigger Newcastle guys starting to drop off tackles, he can really come into his own quite considerably. Number 9 is the kicking game. Now, as I said once again, big Newcastle forwards, they don't like to turn and chase. And I'm not saying I'm not also not comfortable with some of the Newcastle guys at the back. I think Kenny Dowell is very fidgety under the high ball. I've seen that before. Edric does not like kicks along the ground. He's such a big guy, he finds it difficult to get down. Connor Watson is out. So they've got Kurt Mann at fullback. Kurt Mann's not a big guy. So there's a real opportunity there for some high kicks and having Jack and Jared and Jordan jumping above Kurt Mann, who's not a tall guy by any stretch of the imagination. So there can be some real pluses there with our kicking game to make sure that we kick for those corners and make sure we turn their forwards around. We cannot afford with our kicking game to have the ball going, to have those kicks going on the full to the likes of Edric, Kurt Mann and so on, because they'll just get easy yardage back. Number 10, I've gone for the back 3. CNK, Jordan, as well as Nick. Now, it's only their second game together tomorrow night, but I think their impact is critical for us to get the field position we need throughout the 80 minutes. I said it before and I'll say it again. If we can really get up in the faces of this Newcastle side, who don't move that well laterally, they move very well forward, but laterally they don't move well at all. So if we can do a lot of inside balls with these guys, if the back 3 can certainly connect a lot with kick returns, I think CNK's footwork around the rucks early will really bother these big Newcastle forwards. And then with Jordan with a quick scoop up, play the ball from dummy half, Nick coming first man off the ruck and spreading them out, I think it's just going to give us some really, really strong field position. So guys, looking forward to tomorrow's game. As always, thank you so much for your support. I love the feedback. The podcast will be up later on tonight, guys. So yeah, if you can give me a rating on iTunes, I would really appreciate it, or Android. So look, looking forward to the game immensely, guys. And as always, bleed green, and this is Bourkey out. Have a great night and bye for now.